afternoon, my fellow friends, YouTubers. This is Kurt. Welcome back to the Kurt's Place channel here on the YouTube. Well, guys, now in this video, I'm going to explain to you how owning a home became a reality for me. I'm going to explain some of the processes and things I had to go to actually find out if I could afford a home, also where I could get a home. You're going to notice in the next couple segments I'm going to have, it's going to explain some things to you. If you're planning on having your own home, how you actually go about getting your own home, and some things that you may or may not have thought about. And I think you're going to find this video is going to be pretty helpful. Now, keep in mind that owning a home, it can take a while. From the time I wanted to have my own home to getting my own home took over a year. It was over a year-long process, but the thing is, if you do proper planning and things with the home that you're going to be getting, two things are going to happen. You're going to be a lot happier in the home you're getting into because you're going to know you have a home you can afford. The other thing is you're going to know by doing proper planning, such as the things you're going to see in the video. For example, getting a home inspected. You're going to know that you're getting a home that's going to be able to be reliable for you, and you're not going to have any surprises. And that's one of the things you have to determine, and this video will help you determine that. When you watch the video, it's going to tell you some things that maybe you never even thought of. Okay? And as always, I want to mention, don't forget to click the subscribe button. If you like what you see, don't forget to smash that like button. And if you have any comments, leave us in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks again for watching. And also, enjoy the video. Let's begin. Okay, now what we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about financing. Now, what this involves is one of the very fortunate things I had when I was determining on when I was going to buy the type of home I want to buy is I had a financial planner. I actually had a consultant, financial planner that worked at a banking center in Maryland where I was at. And what he did is he actually determined what I could actually afford. Now, you're going to notice you can do this yourself. There's a thing such as this is what I use when I figured out my thing. I use this home ownership expense calculator here, what you can afford. Now, this is going to be very helpful. This is kind of what you're going to be using when you talk to your financial consultant. But the one thing about this is this has a number of things that tell you about your financing, things like, for example, what your purchase value is going to be, what your down payment is going to be. But the advantage to having a financial consultant, which is what I had, is he'll go into much more detail than what's on this spreadsheet here. For example, this might have 37 different sections on it. By having a consultant that I talked to at the banking center that I went to, he actually had a spreadsheet that had over 125 items on it. And it helps you determine things, for example, not just the price of the home, whether you're going to have a home, your mortgage, but other things that come up you might not even think about. For example, insurance. How much is insurance going to be? Things such as maintenance on the house. How much is your trash going to be? How much is your electric going to be? How much is your water going to be? How much is your food going to be? How much is your gas going to be? There's so many different things. How much is lawn maintenance going to be? There's so many different things that you might not even think about. That's where having a financial consultant helps a lot. He'll actually go over these various things and put those into a spreadsheet, which is much more involved than this is here. Now, the reality for me was I found out is that reality really gave me a slap in the face. I found out the home that I was going to look at getting, originally I was going to be trying to get a home for about $150,000. I found out by the time I got done with all the expenses and everything involved, that wasn't going to be a good option for me. It was going to put me in a situation where I would not be comfortable. I would have more finances than I could actually afford, more home than I could afford. So what I had to do is I had to determine a different type of home. I said, okay, obviously I can't afford a regular home, so how about a mobile home? I saw a mobile home, before that I really liked, and I went ahead and I did the mobile home thing. Once I went ahead and we started going the mobile home route, my finances and everything came into much more financially feasible for me than having a full-size home, and that's the reason why I came up with a mobile home. So remember, the financial consultant can help you tremendously. You can go to PNC Bank and various institutions, they have loan offices, and get yourself a financial consultant and go over all the details and everything beforehand. Now, it took me over a year to determine this, what I could actually afford and where I would want to be. But I can tell you now, since I have a home now I'm living in now, it's really nice knowing I can afford the home based on my financial planner's advice. And what I do is we actually meet up about once or twice a month, and we go over my bills. He actually goes over my bills with me, determines if there's anything that's out of ordinary where it normally should be, and that will let me know if there's anything unusual going on in my account that I'm not aware of. And that's where having a consultant planner can be tremendously helpful. You'll find out they can guide you through the entire process, not only of getting a home, but making sure you can afford it. But after you have a home, of keeping track of your finances, things as well after. And that's one of the things. They can be in your life for years to come after you own a home, and they're very, very helpful. And that's something that I can't value enough, can't stress enough. Make sure you have really good finances and things in mind. Know what you can afford. It took me over a year to determine that, but you're going to find that once you have that, you're going to be a lot happier where you're at, and any surprises you've had, you're going to know. For example, you're going to know what type of job and things you're going to need to get to move to the place you're going at to be able to afford what you're looking at. That's where it's extremely helpful having a financial plan. So remember, having a financial planner, knowing what your finances are, is one of the most important things when you're starting out to learn to get a home. It can take a while. It took me over a year. Main thing is be patient. Remember, getting into a home is one of the biggest investments you're going to make. It's next to buying a car. It's one of the biggest investments you're going to have in your life. So be very careful how you go about doing it. Now we're going to actually talk about determining the type of home and things I wanted to have and where it would actually be located at. So we'll do that next. Okay, now what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about how I determined where I was actually going to move. Now, originally, my plan was to have a home in. Originally, one of my plans was to have a home in Maryland. Get a mobile home in Maryland. But what I found out is that the mobile homes I had in Maryland were very limited. I didn't have a whole lot to choose from at the time when I was in Maryland. So I said, okay, well, you know what? Let me determine where they have the most mobile homes, so I have the best choice of options for my budget. Well, what I did is I actually put in states with most mobile homes, just like I'm doing here. And if you're going to notice when I click on this, it actually will tell me what states had the most mobile homes. Now you're going to notice I wanted to make sure, because I live in Maryland, that I wasn't too far away from my family. So North Carolina was one of the options that I had. Now, keep in mind, West Virginia also had homes and things I had as well, but I didn't find what I needed. I had done some research on that, and I said, you know what? I love North Carolina. I had been there before, and this is one of the ways I determined where I was actually going to move, was just looking at who had the most homes. And I was very happy with North Carolina. Another thing, too, that determined my whether or not I wanted to move is what was based on weather conditions. Now, I do have some health issues which means that colder temperatures are causing me more of an issue than they used to. So I said, you know what, if I move a little bit further south, I think it's going to be health-wise a good decision for me. So I said North Carolina seems like a pretty good option. That's how I determined that North Carolina was going to be where I was going to get my home at. I went to the states with the most mobile homes. That was closest to where I lived. I found out North Carolina was about a 5.5 hour drive from where I lived, even a little bit less if you don't have a lot of traffic and things, and that's what determined where I want to live. And that's something you need to determine. Moving to another state is a big decision, and it's one that has to be taken carefully. It wasn't a really hard decision for me because I knew I wanted a mobile home. I had been to North Carolina previously, and I really loved the state, and I had already been there before. I had visited North Carolina before and determined that it was where I would want to be. And the other thing too was I realized too that not only was North Carolina not too far away from where my family wanted to live, but it also had weather conditions and things that would work well with my health situation. It was going to be a little bit warmer, and I thought that would help me out as well. So that's one of the things. Moving to another state it was a big decision I had to make because I had to change my job. And another thing too, I determined that North Carolina had enough businesses and things for me that I would be able to find employment, and I was able to find employment in North Carolina, which worked out really well. So remember, sometimes moving to another state might be what you need to do to make your reality become, to make your dream become a reality. That was it was a situation in my case that was required. I had a lot of specific things I wanted to have with my home, and North Carolina was the place that had everything that I needed. So that helped me determine where I wanted to move. And that's the thing. You just have to do research like I'm doing here to determine, where is the best place to move at based on the type of home you want to have and also where you want to move. And that's one of the things you're going to determine. Once you start doing research, you'll determine that. Now, the actual research to determine the North Carolina thing took me over a month to figure out exactly where I wanted to move to. And this is after I looked at dozens and dozens of homes and things. And this is what I'm going to show you next. I'm going to show you where you actually go, what research I used to actually find a mobile home that I liked. That's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, so the next thing I did was, once I knew what type of home and things I wanted to, I went to a place called Realtor.com. Now, there's a number of places you can go, but I found Realtor.com was a place that worked best for me. Now, what you're going to do on here is There's a number of things you can have on here. You can do filter. You can have filters. First of all, I determined where I wanted to live. Now, the reason I chose Orlando, North Carolina was I had several subscribers that lived in Orlando, North Carolina, and said that they had some pretty nice homes available and things, mobile homes that I was looking for. Now, one of the things that was important, I did not want to have a mobile home in a mobile home park. I wanted to have a mobile home on its own plot of land. I also wanted to make sure that it had local city, city water, sewer, and electric, all city with no septic tank. Now that involved a little bit, that took about 2 months to find a place that worked for me. But once I went to realtor.com, I typed in Orlando, North Carolina. You're going to see it's going to bring up a bunch of listings. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is when you find a house, for example, this house here, I'll click on here to give you an example. What you want to determine is, okay, you may say, well, the budget and everything it's pretty close to my budget, but keep in mind this is never going to be the final total you're going to have to pay for a home. Now, this is where your financial planner will help. He told me things I need to keep in mind. He says when you look at a property like this, remember you're going to have closing fees. Now, remember your real estate agent will also help you out with this as well, and you also can do research online to determine this as well when buying a home. They'll tell you about these fees. But for example, I had closing costs I had to add in there. I had to have a home inspection done. That was an additional $500 I had to pay to have a home inspection done. Now, you're also going to notice too when you look at when you go to here and you look at the property details. This is very important. Always look at all the property details. This may have additional expenses you didn't even think about. Now, for example, when I moved into my home, I did not have a washer and I did not have a dryer. So I had to buy a washer and dryer. That was extra expense. But it was in the listing here that it did not have those. It said specifically it did not have those. And on my listing, it said it did not have those. Keep in mind also, you want to also determine, for example, where, like what the annual tax and things are. Well, you're going to see there's a number of things on here. Like this will tell you, does it have city sewer? Does it have electric? Does it have water? This will tell you a number of things about the property that you need to know. It's very important to go over this very carefully to determine what you're looking at. Now, for example, this looks like a really nice home. Okay, now my home was move-in ready, which means my home had a new roof, it had a new floor, it had a new, newly redone kitchen, and it was basically move-in ready. Now, I ended up paying a little more for that. But now, for example, when it's said on there, move-in ready. Now, remember, your home inspection will determine that when you have a home inspection, if there's any surprises. But this home, for example, might say, oh, this looks like a great home. But keep in mind, read the details. Truly a handyman's delight or investor's interest. What this means is that it needs updating and repairs. That's why the low price. Remember, this necessary does not, even though you may see a price that you like, the home itself may need a lot of work. You have to add that into your budget. That's why you need to be careful when you find a home. You want to make sure you look over all the details very carefully. Now, when you contact an agent, there's going to be a button here that says email agent. Now, when I emailed an agent, I was set up with a gentleman called Joe Bangart that actually works in North Carolina. That actually helped me get the home that I needed. Now, your realtor is going to be a tremendous help with your property. For one thing, I was not able to do a virtual. I wanted to have a virtual tour of my property done, but I didn't have any available online. So guess what? My realtor actually helped me with that. He actually went through the home and did a virtual tour with me of the home. And then he sent me the home so I could see what it looked like. And he walked through with a video camera. He walked around the whole property. It took about 10 minutes. Showed me the interior, the exterior. Walked around the whole property. And once we both determined that this property would probably work for me, then I went ahead and I had a home inspection done. Well, he went ahead and he had a home inspector and everything come in and do a home inspection. That was the first time I got a chance to see the property. Now, when the home inspection was done, there were a few things he noted that needed to be addressed, and this is where your realtor also comes in handy. He's the one that works with the seller, and he's basically the mediator between the seller and yourself. For example, my house needed to have some outlets and things fixed. Well, the seller actually made adjustments on the price so I could get those fixed. If there's anything that comes up, that's where having a home inspection is very important. Now, my home inspection on my home. On my mobile home cost $500. Now he went underneath the mobile home. He looked underneath. checked out all the plumbing and electric and everything on the top level, but then he also went underneath the home and looked underneath the skirting to make sure that the hurricane straps and all the undermining of the house and everything were in good shape. That's one of the things that was very important in determining whether this place would work for me. So having a realtor is very important to keep in touch with a realtor. Make sure you have a good realtor. Now, you can have your own realtor or you can use one. I contacted a realtor because it was easier for me because it was in North Carolina. For me, that was the easiest thing to do. Now, like I was saying before, the number of houses and things you have, it'll vary depending on what they have available. But keep in mind, some of these properties will sell very quickly. So if you see a property that you like, you want to try to act on it. Once you know your finances and things are in order and you have all your money and everything secured, which I did because I had, like I was saying, I had a financial person determine what I could afford and I had money set aside. Then you can contact your realtor and go through the process of making an offer and things like that. And then you can have things called contingencies where, for example, if the home inspector doesn't like what he sees, you can back out of the deal. That's something your realtor will arrange for you. And that's something why it's very important to keep in touch with your realtor throughout the entire process. Do not be afraid to contact your realtor. I call my realtor a total of 35 times in the 2 months it took me, basically in a month or so, I should say, it took me to get the final details of the home buying done, and that was very important. Don't be afraid to contact the realtor. He's there to answer your questions and to help you out. Remember, the only stupid question is the question that you don't ask. So I hope that this video was able to help you get an idea how I actually became a homeowner here in North Carolina. And now, I want to mention, by the way, if you want to help to show your support for the Kurt's Place channel, feel free to get some merchandise from the Kurt's Place channel. So there's a link in the description down below. I try to do 1 to 2 videos a week as my time allows. And I also want to mention, by the way, too, when you're watching a video, if you click on the top right-hand icon, that's going to open up links to have the other videos. I want to thank you once again, by the way, for checking out my video on how my home own, how I became reality of owning home became a reality for me. I want to thank you again for tuning in the Kurt's Place channel. Hope you all have a great day. Now we will see you on the next video. Bye bye now. See you next time. Take care. Have a great day.